Good morning. Welcome to the Zano-Verse, Inside the Zano-Verse, episode 4. Sorry about the technical delays. We're a few minutes delayed here, but we're getting fired up. So everyone, please stand by. We'll be inviting everyone in shortly, and we're looking forward to a great conversation. Hey, Roger. Let's get you up here. Let's get Soul up here. There's Zoidberg, GMGM. Hey, Soul.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
GMGM. Exciting day, exciting couple days, exciting week in the crypto space. Excited to be here.
Hi guys.
Yes, I'm happy I'm happy we got the spaces working. So both me and Pavel tried it on our phones, and every time we opened the spaces, the whole app crashed. So I had to create a new spaces, and now it seems to work. So yeah, I was afraid that we even had to cancel the whole thing, but luckily not.
Okay, so this is a new space, so retweet it and like it down there so it gets more exposure, because I don't think it's connected to the one that everyone had reminders on.
Yes, that is the main issue now here.
First space of the new year, Xano's cooking, crypto's cooking, ETF approvals, so many different things. Current trading volumes, I think, for the ETFs, I think we're already a couple billion in the first hour, was the number?
Zano ETF.
I mean, when will there be a privacy coin ETF? You know, like that brings up a lot more questions about kind of how the space will.
I don't think there ever will be, no.
Okay, let's see. We're waiting for Pavel. And then we should be good to go.
I think Pavel is not able to get in now. He just texted me.
All right. In that case, I think we should probably just get started. We're a few minutes behind, but a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So let's get into it. So who else we got here? Oh, maybe he will be able to join. Oh, wait, no. Cool. All right. So this is episode 4 of Inside the Zano-Verse. We have the Zano team here, and we're joined by special guest Rajay Vir again, just to talk about what's going on, the new features, confidential assets, potential use cases, and kind of what we have in store in the future. So we're joined by Andre, Crypto Zoidberg, Pavel Ravaga here, Crypto Soul, as well as Quibs on the main account. So last week, Roger wasn't here. We just had the team, and we were talking about the new features, the capabilities of Zarkanum. Zarkanum being the feature, the protocol upgrade, learning about the selection algorithm, learning about how the system becomes more robust as more protocols and more projects sign up and start to build and add data. So a lot of really cool things. This week, we're going to dig deeper into confidential assets, privacy tokens, and some new projects that are launching using Zano technology. So, I mean, since we spoke, the crypto market, we just kind of went crazy. We almost hit 50,000. ETH has broken 2,600. We saw the ETF approval and the whole shakeout with Gary Gensler getting compromised and Twitter putting out a fake tweet. There's never a dull moment in crypto. But so that's been pretty much the main story of this week. And when it comes to privacy, I've seen actually some really interesting privacy tools start to come out as well. There's some projects that are using ZK proofs to bridge ETH between BRC20 assets. There's other companies that are doing tools on top of ETH that give users more privacy for their financial on-chain transactions. It just shows that there's more and more interest out there for anonymous technology, and people are starting to realize that all their money and all of their time and everything isn't as secure as they think it is. So they're starting to explore ways to find that privacy. So Zano's here working on those problems, and hopefully we will learn more and start to see more and more really cool projects built on Zano. So thanks for joining us, Roger. And Roger Ver, for the listeners, he is an early Bitcoin investor, early advocate for the ecosystem. Today's a great day. I'm sure he's just been having a wonderful week. How you doing, Roger?
Great. Is my microphone working? I asked a couple of times. No one replied before.
Sounds good now.
Okay, great. And I want to correct one thing too. Like, I'm not an early investor in the Bitcoin ecosystem. I'm the first. And there was this civil war that went on with Bitcoin, and they tried to rewrite history and minimize my role. But I invested basically every single one of the first generation Bitcoin startups, and I was the seed investor there. So anyhow, thank you for the introduction and the welcome. And I'm glad to be at the ground floor of Zano here, because privacy is the future. So here we are.
Yeah, thanks for that. And sorry for the brushing over the early details there. But yeah, everyone knows that Roger is a very early investor, and actually the first investor. He was on the founding team of Ripple and a lot of really, really cool things. So,
and I have a whole book coming out about the hijacking of Bitcoin, and part of why I'm excited about Zano here as well in the future. So for people that are new to that, like, check that out. It'll be out, this quarter this year.
Ooh, awesome. Something to look forward to. Yeah, there's so much lore and so much backstory with Bitcoin that now we've been, 15 years? It's going to get lost.
And the reason I mentioned that with Zano though as well is because we need to be careful that the same sort of hijacking of the mission of Zano, of like, privacy by default for everybody with tokens, doesn't get hijacked and doesn't get morphed and doesn't get co-opted. Because like, part of what attracted me to Zano so much in the very beginning was like, e-commerce, transactional commerce is the priority with Zano. Like that for me is the whole exciting point. Now we have tokens here, so just so many exciting things happening with open Zano Bazaar and all these things. I'm sorry to hop from subject to subject. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the Zano space here.
Oh yeah, definitely. And no, it's great to have someone that's kind of gone through it to make sure that we kind of make sure we don't make those same mistakes that have been made in the past. It's better for everyone and for the ecosystem. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on the current market, on the developments with what's going on, and specifically privacy coins? Anything there? Kind of how do you feel about everything going on?
I think at the end of the day, everything is speculation that's going on, aside from the people that are actually building projects. So let's build some actual real world use cases for Zano where people can use it. And I think we need the hard fork where all the tokens are available there and the confidential assets. Then it's off to the races, because people will be able to do all sorts of real world things. And we saw it happen initially. All the darknet markets were using Bitcoin for stuff, and then they switched to Monero because Monero has the additional privacy there. We saw everybody using Ethereum for tokens. Well, that's great. Everyone loves tokens, but where are the privacy tokens? Well, that's where Zano has a real good chance at being like one of the default layer one platforms for privacy tokens. So we saw the migration of, commerce go from non-privacy coins to privacy coins, right? From BTC to XMR. I think the next step is seeing the tokens migrate from something like Ethereum to something like Zano, because privacy is better than not having privacy.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the hard fork. That's what we're here to talk about, Zarkanum. And that's the new hard fork, the protocol upgrade. It improves the core privacy and introduces the world's first truly private proof of stake scheme with hidden amounts. So it's a massive achievement for privacy, and we're excited to be tackling these problems. Zoidberg, do you want to talk a little bit more about, just to give a high overview of Zarkanum and what we have with the hard fork and the new features?
Hi, everyone. Well, you mean a high level or diving into technical details?
Just a quick overview for the listeners, so we have a quick understanding of what we're looking at, what we're talking about.
Yeah, basically what we call Zarkanum is, that's actually what you said. It's proof of stake. In Zano, we have a hybrid consensus that use both proof of work and proof of stake, and each part of the consensus secure each other. But originally, when we just launched it, Zano, like around 5 years ago, we use it this proof of stake consensus on top of open amounts. There was no hidden amount there by the time of launch, and it's been a quite long time. While it was considered impossible to build proof of stake on top of hidden amounts, just because of the nature of the proof of stake, because you have to prove that you have a certain amount of stake, and regarding the amount, you have a chances to build the block, and that it also has some sort of difficulty that related to amount of the coins that you have. That because of this, it was really hard to imagine the model that can play the role of proof of stake with hidden amounts. But that's what Val invented. Val and Core, the other guys, they did it together. The Core is now a lead developer of Monero, as far as I know. That's pretty much what Zarkanum is originally, and in the term of papers that we use. But also, when we speak about the Zarkanum hard fork, it brings two major features. It brings Zarkanum as a proof of stake on top of hidden amounts, but it also brings the whole new technology that we call confidential assets. That's different thing. We just bring them all together, but it's completely different and like a huge amount of work that was did like kind of separately. So yeah, just to avoid confusion, with Zarkanum hard fork, we bring all this together. Just to mention this.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds like there's a lot of developments that have been years in the making that are finally being pushed live with this new update. So very exciting. And the confidential assets, like we mentioned, they'll transform Zano from a single asset blockchain to a multi-asset blockchain with both native and custom assets. So developers will be able to add privacy functions to their apps. They'll be able to integrate custom Zano privacy coins. And so we'll talk about some of the projects building on Zano and how they're currently using that a little bit later. And then we also learned last week that Zano will be burning fees for transactions after the hard fork. So it'll be a shift in the economics towards a deflationary system. And this is important too, because long term, this dramatically improves the economics and just makes it a much better economics. So that's also something we heard about last week, which was one of the fun little alpha tidbits that we got to talk about. So about confidential assets, there's a lot of potential use cases and applications, but none that have really been talked about more than private stablecoins. So stablecoins are obviously a huge part of the ecosystem. They allow you to tether your assets or your value to real world prices. So with all this volatility, you could have some predictability. And then stablecoins that are anonymous would be just kind of next level, where you won't be able to look in everyone's wallet and see exactly how much they have, which is one of those issues with crypto. So,
and I think you left out the fact that algorithmic anonymous stable coins, that's a really, really big deal. So you don't have this trusted third party or counterparty that can run away with your stable coin.
Yeah, that's a good point, because with the current stable coins, there's always so many questions about what's going on and if you could trust them. So if you could have the one that's proven anonymous and you could rely on it, that's next level. So what do you think about that? What is the potential use cases for private stablecoins? What do you think would be the big opportunity there? How do you see those playing into the ecosystem in addition to standard privacy coins and stablecoins?
This is a chance for cryptocurrency to go head to head with government issued traditional fiat currencies, right? If you have something that can be pegged to a traditional fiat currency, but it can be zipped all around the world without being censored or monitored, like, people are going to choose that all day long to use that over traditional things, right? So we're seeing a competition in the type of money that people around the world are using, and competition leads to better quality products for the consumers. And we as people that are using money in our day-to-day lives, we're the consumers of the different forms of money. So not too many people use Zimbabwe dollars because US dollars work better. Well, now if the new Zano confidential asset token that's pegged to the US dollar works even better than US dollars in Bank of America, people are going to start using the token on top of Zano or whatever else out there. So competition leads to better quality products at a better price for the consumer out there. So all of us get to benefit from this. And I'm really excited about Zano as a platform being there ready to capitalize on this. And, that's why I'm here on the call.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're all kind of crypto native, so we're used to dealing with the fluctuations and the volatility and calculating in our head. But around the world, it's very tough if you don't have that stable coin, if you don't have that reliability. And then when you add in the fact that people are persecuted for journalism, for religion, for various reasons, you really need that anonymous in order to give them the confidence or the kind of peace of mind to use this financial tool, because it's life and death. We look at it as fun. Over there, it's a lot of times life and death, and that's why it's so important.
Mike Kern, an early Bitcoin guy, said even outlaws can't use an outlaw currency. So it's important that we have all sorts of above board white commerce type stuff happening there, so that people, even if you're a journalist, trying to report on something, and governments want to block your funds, like they had a financial blockade against WikiLeaks and this and that. We want to make sure that they're able to use it, but we need it being used for all sorts of normal commerce as well. You touched on it, like normal people, they're terrified of the volatility. So let's build an algorithmic stablecoin on top of Zano, and that'll be really, really popular. I just finished having lunch here in the island of Nevis in the Caribbean, and just by chance started talking with the guy at the table next to me, and he worked as a quant, right, a financial quant. And his biggest concern about crypto was the price fluctuation, the price volatility. That's already solvable right now today. We've seen that with things like BCH Bull on Bitcoin Cash, but let's build these same sorts of tools on Zano as well, and make the tools that make it so easy for people to not have these worries or concerns. And you can tell them that you have something that's just as stable as the dollar or the pound or the euro, but you can zip it anywhere in the world without censorship and without your account being frozen. Like, that's a really, really powerful, compelling use case for people all over the world. We just need to make it come into reality and easy for people to use. People that aren't interested in seeing the US dollar no longer being the world's reserve currency.
Yeah, it's kind of like that that thing where they talk about rights and, well, they're not coming after me, and I didn't care when they didn't come after me, but eventually something will affect you. And maybe in Canada, it was you donating to a protest and realizing that your bank was shut down. Or maybe in America, you bought something or, worked with a company that later turned out to be, negative, and you got some bank red flag or something. So like long term, it will eventually come to you. And as the rules change, like you never know what eventually will be illegal tomorrow. And it's not really up to the governments to tell you when you can and can't use your money. So what is out there currently with confidential assets? Like, is anyone trying to do an anonymous stablecoin? Has this been tried before and failed, or is this still like a new frontier that no one has really been able to tackle yet?
I'm not really aware of any, but if somebody else does, please speak up. But I think the world's been waiting for something like that, because it's amazing how much traction in commerce Tether and USDC have. But a lot of people don't realize, like, your Tether address can be frozen. They can freeze your stuff there. So like, let's build the actual peer-to-peer electronic cash for the entire world that's uncensorable, unstoppable, and works for everybody. And I don't think that's been fully built. Like, you have DAI, I guess, but I'm not sure exactly how freezable that is. But there's certainly not much privacy with DAI. So let's build this.
I'm not sure about stablecoin, but it's definitely a nice attempt of our friends from Fear Project. The guys recently published a paper that calls SPATs, Confidential Assets and Non-Fungible Tokens, by Aaron Freight and Aram Jivanyan. And this is basically how confidential assets could be realized on top of existing Lanto Spark technology that is used in Firo, or maybe it will be used on the next update. I'm not quite sure about that, but I think the guys are very interested in implementing confidential assets, and probably they will eventually do. But unfortunately, I'm not aware of any schedule or any plan or more concrete plans about that. But Firo is a private coin, so yes, we
Yeah, Firo is what we're talking about, FIRO.org. Yeah, they do have some pretty cool technology. I haven't dug into it too much. It's been on my list of research topics to take care of.
There's also let me get in on this real quick because I have something to add here. You also have Beam, which has confidential assets on their Mimblewimble based blockchain. And I think that they have a privacy stablecoin on there as well. But I'm not sure about how much is being used. And then you have a protocol called Zephyr protocol, which is a fork of, I believe, Haven protocol and Monero. Haven obviously tried it before already, but failed. I'm not sure what Zephyr is doing different here exactly, but there's different attempts. But I think when it comes to the success of such a stable coin, it's also very important who's behind it. Is it being promoted properly? And the security of the blockchain. Because if you would launch a confidential asset on Zano, it would be secured by the Zano blockchain. So by our hybrid proof of work, proof of stake consensus algorithm, which is highly secure, which is very important if you ask me.
Yeah, totally. And Crypto Zoidberg, I know this is a topic that you've spent considerable time thinking about. What are your thoughts on confidential assets and kind of what's out there and how Zano is improving on that?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. What is my thoughts about the role of
confidential assets?
What?
Yeah, confidential assets and how Zano is improving upon kind of what is currently out there.
I actually have a lot of thoughts, but it's more like a philosophic thoughts about the future of the project and where we moving, because it's actually opens the whole new like a page for Zana, and I see this. For me, it's a really big thing. It's a really big, even strategically, it's like a new direction, and I'm probably overly excited about this. But I think it will create Zana. It will let us serve with the privacy a lot of different projects, and yeah, basically that's it. I just don't want to say too much about this, and let's see how it goes. That's it.
Gotcha. Yeah. The privacy upgrades on Zano make it, a game changer. So regardless of, it's just putting it all together at the right time, and that's why we're really excited about what we got going on here. And then some of the projects building on Zano. Let's talk about some of those, because Zano Bazaar right now is already out there, and it's taking advantage of the Zano Marketplace API, which allows creators to build marketplace and offers using the privacy of the Zano blockchain. So can you explain a little bit more? Or do you want to talk a little bit about the Zano Marketplace API and how people are using that to build new products? Anyone could take that one, Joyberg or maybe Raviga.
Well, I can explain in broader details how it works, but I think we should ask the exploit the main developer, or we could talk about the API specific. This is Andres' domain. Well, before we jump to that, I got a couple more things to add to the previous questions about the algorithmic stablecoins. I think I know a little bit about the Zephyr, and they use the JET stablecoin model, and that's the algorithmic thing. And my personal thoughts on stablecoin, there shouldn't be a single answer to that. We could use both or collateralized models and algorithmic models, and there could be more than one vendor. The main issue with the USDT and USDC right now is that the stablecoin vendor could blacklist you because they know your address. But let's imagine we have a vendor running the stablecoin on a privacy blockchain. There is no address. You can either shut it down completely or you're unable to send a particular address at all.
That's interesting. Go ahead.
Yep, sorry about that. Sorry. So, well, we can jump back to marketplace if this is the answer to your question. I just didn't want to interrupt anyone before.
No, we can talk about that too. I mean, that's a really good thing because as governments get more involved, we've already had Elizabeth Warren and these attacks on crypto. They're trying to throw laws that are literally impossible to fulfill, trying to turn every crypto user into a criminal. So, it does bring up that point where having the entire chain shut it down is good for everyone or it's good for no one. That's kind of an interesting way to think about it as opposed to just shutting out individual participants and letting the chain run. It's definitely a good thought.
Another issue, it could go backwards. For example, if it's completely legal now, it could become illegal if you use the stablecoin on a public blockchain. You never know; it may come back at you like years after.
Yeah, there's all the jokes about people sending money from Tornado to big influencers into public politicians' accounts because then now technically they're receiving money that is tainted or whatever. So it's an interesting thing right now with the laws and the landscape always changing and the attacks from the big banks and the legacy systems kind of just trying to keep crypto out as long as possible. I mean, everyone knows a lot of money laundering and war. I mean, there's so much money that is actually cash that is used illegally. So crypto isn't, it's just it's a straw man. But we know that as crypto people. So we just got to fight the narrative and keep it moving forward.
Yep.
I don't think I see.
Please go ahead. I keep interrupting you. I think there is a little bit of delay between my place and so I just jump in.
Yeah, no worries. I was just going to say, I don't think I see Kexploit down there to talk a little bit more about the Bazaar. But if we do want to talk more about the Marketplace API and what the capabilities are and how that improves on kind of what the other marketplace systems out there are and, removes one of the centralized pieces, I think we'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I have a question on that front. If there's someone that can speak to it too, like what would be the possibilities of using the Marketplace API and escrow system there for people to use that to trade from one currency to another as well, if there's not like atomic swaps or something else like that. So would love to hear about selling or fiat currencies for crypto as well using that. Like the more interesting stuff people can do, the better. So please entice me with all the exciting things you think are about to be built using the Marketplace API, please.
Well, in order to swap the currencies on top of Zano blockchain, we don't even need the Marketplace API because there is a thing called ionic swaps, mainly because atomic swaps been taken, but those should be the atomic swaps. And you can exchange wrapped assets on chain in a single transaction, and you don't even need to use Marketplace API. Marketplace API is more of a settlement tool where you exchange real life assets, and it could be a fiat money and it could be goods, services, doesn't matter. And the way it works, it's like a generic P2P experience. When you put the ad out, someone replies to your ad, you both submit some sort of collateral, and if transaction is complete and both parties agrees, you can release the transaction. And there is no server. This is just a front-end application that uses Zano blockchain as database.
Okay, that makes sense.
The issue with Kexploit being absent is that Zano Bazaar is much more than Marketplace API. That's why I keep referring to him, because he uses other technologies as well. I think he uses NIM, is the I2P protocol of sorts. I'm like, I don't really know how it works, but he claims this is super important, and he built something really impressive.
Yeah, there's more information on Zano-Bazaar, ZANOBAZAAR.com. And yeah, it's talking about the NYM MixNet. And live communications are handled by the NYM MixNet, providing nation-state level adversary protection to all communications between buyers and sellers. It'd be great if Kexploit was here to explain more, but it just looks like he's taken a lot of time to ensure that the transactions, the communications, everything on this system is protected for the user.
Well, I hope so. I could probably add the way why it is a good thing for Zano blockchain, because any project built on Zano could utilize Zano and their own asset token for monetization and like the internal tokenomics. And any transaction on Zano blockchain brings us to the deflationary point, which is kind of our goal here, to make more projects build on Zano, but allow them to have their own tokenomics, not tied to Zano in any way.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how people build those out, and eventually how many Xanos get burned when kind of the volume picks up on the blockchain. Another project that is being built right now is called Confidential Layer. And that one's a little bit different than Zano-Bazaar. This is, I'll just read from the website. It's a platform designed for seamless exchange of native and wrapped assets between private and public chains. So it lets you easily transfer between privacy chains like Zcash, Zano, and Firo, and public chains like BTC, ETH, and other EVM-based chains. So it's a confidential bridge that lets you send wrapped Zano or any other confidential token from Ethereum to Zano or vice versa. So it's pretty cool. Another one of these projects that gives people more liquidity and gives people more more tools to operate in this anonymous world and keep their financial privacy intact while actually transacting and buying and selling however they want. So that website's confidentiallayer.com. So check it out. They have docs a little bit more if you're interested in building or learning from it or using it. And they're coming out with a couple new products, a new wallet, and the privacy-centered stablecoin. So hopefully that will be built on Zano. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I could add a little bit more on that. It's not just the way to wrap your Zano assets on EVM networks. That's not like a big science thing. Anyone can release their own token. The way it works, it would also allow public assets to be wrapped on Zano. And it doesn't have to be public even. You can have a wrapped Monero on Zano to be able to trade it via Ionic swaps on chain on Zano to privacy stablecoin. So it's like it works both ways.
If you'll be able to take anything and wrap it and give it the protection provided by the Zano blockchain, you could trade, and then whoever eventually has it, they could always unwrap it and then bring it back to whatever chain it came from.
Right. And basically anyone can do it if you're technical enough, and you can go through the docs and you can issue your own asset and facilitate the wrap. But the confidential layer idea is to provide the tool to make it really easy for users and their own sets of assets they're going to support.
And the whole thing is about making it easy and user interface. And back in the day, the projects the darknet markets that were easier to use, like everything that just, if it's easier, less friction's better. So having more of these tools, it's just going to make more Zano out there, more abilities for people to do that. So, and then like you said earlier, this also has the privacy, more projects that are spinning up on Zano, add more data to that data ocean, which make it harder to track down any individual droplet. So.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. How about an update on the hard fork? What are we thinking on that? What's the timeline for the Zarkanum hard fork?
Okay. You want me to call just the dates, or you want more details with the game plan? What we're doing next weeks?
Maybe a little bit of both. I think we've all kind of anticipated this and excited to get an idea of when it's coming.
Yeah.
But also progress. Great.
So we're gonna have we have a plenty of little tasks that we have to finish. We also have we have a testnet running right now, and everything is working. But besides this, we have a plenty of little things that we have to finish, and it's accumulated in GitHub issues, like around 100 things that we have to finish before the hard fork. And we also have in a different branch, we have implemented new decoy selection algorithm that I was talking about last time. Also, we implemented it's still holding in a separate branch because we didn't merge it into the testnet. New fork choice rule that harden our consensus. It's solve. It's like improve. I don't know how to say it in simple words. We just changed the formula that define the fork choice rule, and it's becomes even more harder to attack if you have, for example, just 1% of if you have 1% of the proof of stake coins, you won't be able to perform this attack because it makes like impossible amount of proof of work that needed. So we changed this. Also, we implemented a lot of changes around API refactoring because the API is changing, but during this transitional period, it should work the old way. And we also have to provide the way that services that did migrate to new API, they should be able to work with the old API, like it's old school Zano. So we have a bunch of these changes waiting in the branch. So we have to merge it and to restart the network. And we also, after I start the network, we have to make a few calculations and see how the proof of stake difficulty behavior when it jumps from the current model that running right now in the mainnet into a new model in the Arcanum model. So we have to see how it changes in a real life environment. And with these numbers, we'll make one more little feature that will be just in case if someone gonna hack our if theoretically something gonna happen and we will be under grinding attack, proof of stake grinding attack, we want to make a safety trigger that will stop this attack if the proof of stake difficulty will be hitting some number that it's impossible in the normal conditions. So to get these numbers, we need to make this one more restart of the network and make calculations on how the classic proof of stake changed to Zarkano. And to achieve all this, we decided that there's going to be two events. The first is a release event when we actually release a new version of Zana, and we will be asking everyone to install it. And this is going to happen February 15th. And the actual hard fork date is planned to March 15th. So we will have 1 month to ask everyone in the network to update their client to this new software. So this is the roadmap, and yeah, I really hope that it's gonna be everything is finished by the February of 15, so we can finally release Arcanum.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So just sounds like a lot on your plate, a lot of final little loose ends you got to make sure are perfect before you roll this new thing out. But February 16th is the day on the calendar with the big X for the client release.
Yeah, and we just have 5 weeks left for this, and that's crazy amount of work. Even after release, we have, because we couldn't fit everything. So we, even after release, we will have a lot of postponed the core tests that we'll be implementing after, just to make sure that everything is tight and everything is reliable. So that's going to be quite stressful. Next 2 months going to be really, really stressful for us, for the team. But hope it's going to be cool after all.
Yeah, very, very exciting. And then, yeah, like you said, after that, a month after that, hard fork, March 15th. So it's good to put them out there in the ether. Now we got a target to look for. And the universe will make it happen.
Yeah, I see Vic from Cake Wallet made a comment. He says Cake Wallet will support Zano after the hard fork. So you will be able to hold the Zano and the confidential assets on Cake Wallet. So that's exciting.
Yeah, very cool.
As we was working on the integration with the Cake Wallet, we were working on integration with confidential assets. I don't know what would be the policy of the Cake Wallet, which assets they're gonna let circulated on your wallet. It's up to Cake Wallet or whatever, like it's gonna be, or maybe some whitelisting policy. But as a background work, as a work for the integration, we were working on the Zarkado version of API, and everything we tested and testing right now is should work with assets, of course. And I appreciate for integration done in Cake Wallet. Thank you very much.
Yeah, shout out Vic down there, president of Cake. And then another question we had from a listener was about, will Monero be bridgeable as a confidential asset, and then by extension be tradable on the Zano trade decks? And this comes from Privacy Hasher. So I think the answer is yes.
Obviously, yeah, totally. We are permissionless, decentralized network. Anyone can do anything. And if you are capable of running a command line command, you are free to publish any version of wrapped asset on Zano.
Nice. And you did mention the Zano decks. Is that an official project from Zano, or is that something that the community is running? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I don't have enough info on that one yet.
Zano Trade is one of the ways you could trade Zano and Zano assets on chain. This is the one endorsed by team because we try to maximize privacy and somewhat sacrifice usability. It works like P2P sort of exchange. It does not allow the building books or market makers because it requires to reveal some portion of the data we try to preserve. So this is the way we see the on-chain trade. But as I mentioned before, Ionic Swap's API available for anyone, and they can build their own products using the API. It's just like how we see on-chain trade with maximum privacy. And yes, this is the official team exchange.
Gotcha. So I guess there is no Zano Dex, like a branded web app called Zano Dex, where it has everything. Nothing like that yet.
Well, actually, it is. It's called trade.zano.org, and it works on testnet.
Sweet. I'll check that out. Trade.zano.org. Do we have any questions for Roger or anyone on the team? Or Roger, do you have any questions for the team that you'd like to a little bit more explanation about, or just their thoughts and opinions on kind of how it develops or what the future has in store?
I think the real fun begins after the upgrade. So I'll be counting the days and eagerly waiting for that. And I don't know, I've been in crypto a long, long time now, but it's just getting more and more exciting as each month goes by. So yeah, and special thanks to Vic at the Cake Wallet there too. Like he's been a real strong voice for privacy built in to the user experience right there from day one. And so I'm really excited to hear that he's integrating Zano and confidential assets into the Cake wallet as well. So special thanks to him, and maybe he'd be a great main guest on the next version of this Zano-Verse episode.
It's a good idea. I'll have to send a DM. And then Mr. Quibbs, we have some marketing updates for us. Would you like to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I think most of it was explained in the article that was released last week, where we basically just explain a bit about the marketing roadmap for Zano for 2024. We plan to crank it up on basically all fronts. Maybe something that overlaps a bit with the topic here. Now we're talking about confidential assets. Is the grants program that is planned. Maybe we can talk a bit more about that as well, because I'm personally very excited about that, because creating the technology is one thing, but properly promoting it and making sure that it's being used is another thing. And the grants program is supposed to attract developers to Zano's ecosystem to build all kinds of interesting dApps on Zano. So yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. Maybe the guys can give some comments on it as well.
Well, we don't have structure in mind, but we try to follow the best practices. We'll issue a grant and we'll have some sort of governance system to vote on the projects that are eligible to get the grant. And the main idea is to encourage people to build on Zano, and we'll do our best to provide the support.
Yeah, great. Sounds good. We got a question from Randy. Randy brought him up as a speaker. What's going on, Randy? How you doing?
Hey guys, I'm Randy, founder of Ordinals Wallet. Do you guys mind if I ask Roger a question that's not related to Zano?
We're trying to stick to Zano, but maybe if it's a quick one.
Yeah,
I'll work Zano into the answer somehow.
There we go.
Roger, I know you have spoken back and forth with our CEO Josh. He's my partner. I was just wondering if you have any interest in ordinals, and if there's any interest in bringing ordinals over to BCH, because it's compatible, with all the UTXO blockchains.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't followed ordinals that closely, other than it's been pissing off a bunch of the Bitcoin maximalists. So from that aspect, I love ordinals, but I haven't used it. I haven't been interested in NFTs from day one, but maybe they'll be interested in NFTs and ordinals on Zano confidential access at some point. So, but in terms of BCH and BTC and ordinals, I don't know. I think the BTC maximalists destroyed the entire Bitcoin project. So to whatever extent you're pissing them off, you have my support.
Nice. Yeah, so you're no longer even affiliated with BCH? Is that what we're talking about here?
No, I still love BCH, and so I view, and here's our Zano being tied into the thing. So Bitcoin had this amazing opportunity to really become potentially money for the entire world, because none of the politicians were paying it any attention. They didn't have any clue what was going on. We had this giant head start, and these Bitcoin maximalist small blocker types literally strangled the growth of Bitcoin when it was right at the point of being able to take over the world. We're to the point where companies like Microsoft and Expedia stopped accepting Bitcoin when they allowed the blocks to become full. And so now, we're years and years later. You have the BCH and BTC hard fork. BCH still has an awesome user experience. The transactions are fast, cheap, and reliable. None of the privacy is built in on-chain for BTC or BCH, which initially was fantastic for both. Because the politicians seemed less scared of it at that point. And BCH has awesome cash fusion, which gives it really good optional privacy. But it's not that easy to use on a mobile wallet. Maybe Vic will be able, I know he already has BCH and Cake Wallet. Maybe he'll be able, I'd love him to prove the Bitcoin.com developer team to be not as competent as the Cake Wallet development team if he gets cash fusion working on Cake Wallet and confidential access and Monero and the debit or the gift cards and all these different things he has built in there. I'm really impressed with that wallet and the things that he's done. But in terms of that, I don't know, now you have the politicians in America. A lot of people don't know this. I was just reading an article. If you send or receive any transaction worth more than $10,000 in crypto now, starting in January 1st, you're supposed to report it to, I think, the IRS within 15 days or something like that. And if you don't, it's a felony. So they've basically made crypto to being usable as cash, like kind of a felony in the US. And so like, that's annoying, but there's a solution to that. And the solution to that is the privacy on all the time by default chain. So like the Moneros and the Zanos as well. And so like I bought my first Monero when it was $1 and something. I bought my first Zano, way back when it was Bullberry and less than a dollar each. And I've been, stacking some more recently. Um, it's nice to have both methods, right? So you have the BTC, like everyone has to use a custodian to use it, and maybe governments will tolerate that a bit more. You have BCH that has a lot more like freedom, but doesn't have to always on privacy by default that politicians hate. And then you'll have the Moneros and the Zanos and the other privacy coins with privacy on all the time by default, and confidential asset like token stuff. Like that's a really, really big deal. And again, the uncensorability is what makes this really exciting for the whole world. So it's nice that we have competition between all these different blockchains. And so is BTC going to win? I don't know. Maybe it's in the lead at the moment, but the user experience is like in last place, even if the price is in first place. Is Ethereum going to win? I don't know. There's a lot of developer power and stuff happening there, but the fees are high and the user experience isn't so great. Is Zano going to win? I don't know. Like the user experience is okay, but the ecosystem's still developing and the market cap is still really, really small. But that's what, the huge opportunity is. The market cap's like what, $40 million at the moment. I remember in, I don't know, 2012 or something, looking out the window of my apartment in Tokyo, and the entire market cap of Bitcoin was less than $100 million. And looking at these skyscrapers in Tokyo and thinking to myself, how can every single one of these buildings I can see out my window be worth less than all the Bitcoin in the entire world? And sure enough, the buildings weren't. At that time, they were worth more, but Bitcoin today is worth way more. And I think the same is true of a platform like Zano, like really, really powerful privacy, always on by default tokens for everybody in the entire world. How can all that in tokens in the entire world be worth $40 million at the moment? There's no way it's worth $40 million. Like I would be stunned if Zano doesn't make it to a $400 million market cap, which is a 10x investment from what you have today. And it could easily make a $4 billion market cap, which is a 100x investment from where you're at today. And it's like, yeah, it's great to make 100x on your money. It's even better to make 100x on your money if you do it at the same time by enabling more economic freedom for people all over the world to, do what they want with their own money and their own tokens and their own everything in life. And that's what attracted me to BCH. That's what attracted me to Bitcoin in the beginning, and that's what's attracting me to Zano at the moment. So all of these things I see, they're competitors, but they're also like competing to make the world a better place for everybody. So I'm going to support all of them. And a lot of people like view me as like a Bitcoin Cash maximalist. Like I'm literally a co-founder of Ripple. I was the second person ever involved in the creation of XRP as well. And I put up the money to start what's called Firo today, back when it was called Zcoin. I literally put up the money for those guys to start that as well. So it wouldn't be out of line to call me a co-founder of that as well. And here I am early in Zano as well, and help buy a bunch of Monero early on as well. Like I'm a usefulness for the world maximalist. Whatever's useful for the world, that's what I'm going to support. And I see a lot of potential usefulness here with Zano, and that's why I'm spending my afternoon on the call with you guys talking about Zano, because it's an awesome potential tool to bring more economic freedom to the world. And so are the other blockchains that I mentioned, but Zano is as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Roger. That's awesome. And Randy, maybe we'll wrap some ordinals and put them on the Zano blockchain so people could have some, politically spicy art and maybe not get persecuted in their country. Who knows? There's probably a use case for that in the future too. And with what Zano's doing, anyone who could use the tools could do what they want with it, which is pretty amazing.
All right, I'm going to drop off this afternoon, guys, but thank you all so much. I'll listen to the rest of the recording later, but thank you all for the platform, the opportunity, and let's see some actual use cases and websites for Zano to come out where people actually can use it rather than just talk about the future potential use cases. So if you're a builder or a dev, go out there and build something, please.
Thanks, Roger. Appreciate you joining us today. All right, let's see if we have any other last questions here in the chat, or anyone on the team have a question or anything you want to talk about that we didn't go over yet. I think now's the time.
Well, all I can say on what was said previously is even though we don't have the grant system in place, if you are a developer and you have a great idea that you want to realize on Zano's blockchain, you already want to do some testing on testnet and stuff, just reach out to us, and maybe we can allocate some funds to it,
Yeah, we're looking for builders. There's a lot of new tools and a lot of things to explore. So you're trying to do something cool, or you need some anonymous features of your app or your DApp, explore Zano, and you'd have some support from the team here. All right, well, I think that about wraps it up. We had a good conversation today. There's so much going on in the crypto market. We've had a little pullback on Bitcoin. Not surprising, but plenty of things to keep our attention. Hopefully we'll be doing these a little bit more often to keep y'all updated as we approach that February 15th day and March 15th day for releases. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.